On this episode of Carnage, we're going to upgrade the fuel system in the Supermang. Ignore this. So, last year we finished up with this piece of ridiculousness. Yes, less than awesome, but you know, it was a bit of fun. Something to finish off the year. We're going to get rid of all that and we're going to put an underblower intercooler to just for this stage in our development to get the engine down or get the blower down so we can get the bonnet back on the car and run in more of a sleepery type fashion. Okay, so that's still on its way. We haven't got it yet. It'll be here soon and we'll be able to drop that blower back down, get the bonnet back on, do our water to air intercooler system. However, something else we discovered is that the fuel flow is suffering somewhat. We put a fuel pump in this car way back at the start because the original fuel pump kind of was intermittently dying. So we put a Raceworks pump in there, a higher flow Raceworks pump. It was good up to a certain level. I think we've hit that level, right? So we're making close to or around the 300 rear wheel horsepower mark right now. And combined with the stock factory regulator system on this, we think that is affecting its fuel horsepower capacity. So we're going to put a Walbro 460 in it. It's here in the box. We're also going to try and change the reg to this GFB drop-in Bosch style reg. We're not sure that's going to actually fit because it is very tight, but we're hoping it will. That'll be interesting to see. I know this pump box says TI Automotive, but it is actually a Walbro pump. And as it says on the box, for decades, Walbro automotive fuel pumps have been manufactured by TI Automotive. These same pumps are now branded the TI Automotive name. So if you buy a Walbro pump and it comes a TI Automotive box, don't fret, it's a Walbro. So Walbro 460 pumps are kind of one of the industry standards in high flow intake tank fuel pumps. So we're going to get this thing up on the hoist, drop the fuel pump out, put this one in and change the reg, and hopefully we'll have all the flow. Hopefully. Crazy, I know. So I'm pretty confident we've got a fair bit of fuel in the fuel tank. So if I undo the fuel pump, it's going to pierce fuel everywhere. What I'm going to do is undo this line up here, which has an AN fitting on it. I'm going to run this one to it into a can, turn the ignition on, and we will be feeding fuel into the container. So to pump fuel through into our can, we're going to have to trick the fuel pump a bit. Sure, we can hit the key and it turns the pump on, but that'll only run for 5 seconds. See? So what we'll do is fuel pump fuse. All right. We'll pull the fuel pump relay. There we go. We've got this little bridging wire here. And we're just going to bridge it. And that will run the fuel pump and pump the fuel through into our container. Let's see it going there. So we can drain our fuel tank, basically. I think it's the simplest way to do it. Okay, so we've drained the tank, well, drained enough of the tank, I think. And now we can lift her up, pull out our pump and swap it over. Hopefully it won't be too much trouble. Up we go. Okay. So disconnect our wiring. There we go. Remember, if you're doing this, you're working with fuel, so keep your power tools away from it. Okay, so there's our Raceworks pump that we had before. Okay, so we'll crack the seal on our Walbro pump. See what we're dealing with. All right, so filter. Of course, it's a different connector. Fuel pump. That's it. Okay, so looking at this, it's not going to be a straight drop in. We're going to have to make a couple little mods, but it will be pretty close. Shouldn't give us too much trouble, hopefully. Okay, so it's not going to sit in the bracket properly. We're going to have to put pretty much a big hose clamp around that to hold that in position. And that'll work. Of course, it's not, you know, the best case scenario, but it really is the only way to make this happen. Now, we're going to change our wiring to that, and we're done. So last time we did this, I think we asked the question, you know, how do these little plastic joiners do when immersed in E85? And I think the answer is they do just fine. They are still hard as rock, no problems at all. So sure, that fuel pump's only been in the car a year or so, but seems to work fine. It's probably longer than a year, to be honest. I think we did it not long after we bought the VN, and it's been almost 2 years, so yeah, totally fine. Wrappy wrap. All right, so that moves free. But a weird thing we've discovered is the pump doesn't sit actually straight up and down in the tank like that. The way it sits in the tank, it's orientated, so the pump sits at an angle like that. So that's the bottom there. So yeah, a little bit weird, but that is the way it sits. What are you going to do? All right, let's whack it back in. really tight to get that in. The 460s are certainly a bulkier pump. There we go. All right. There we go. So if you're ever wondering what the orientation of the sender unit is, there's actually a flat edge on top of the round section, and as long as that's flat, you've got it right. Anyway, we'll hook up the fuel pickup, wiring, and we're ready to move up the front. So not only are we hitting the limit of what our fuel pump was, but we're also hitting the limit of our factory style fuel pressure regulator. We were just running the standard Bosch reg as per the L67 fuel lines. There's not a lot of opportunities out there. I'm sure someone somewhere makes fuel lines for an L67, but yeah, kind of under a time crunch at the moment. Want to get it done. So I'm going to try and use this GFB unit we've bought from Speed Parts. So what it does is it replaces that Bosch unit, so it plugs in the same hole, clips in, and you've got a fuel pressure reg. So hopefully it fits. We don't have a lot of room there between the blower and the existing fuel line. So that's what's going to be the real trick to this. If we don't have enough room, we're screwed. So we've got our reg, and it comes with, well, it's got a couple ports. It's got a fuel pressure gauge port, and then it's got a vacuum port. And it comes with a block off plug and a little vacuum fitting, so we can put them in. But to set the fuel pressure, we're going to need a gauge on it. So we've got a Raceworks gauge here, liquid filled. So we will attach that to the side. So Raceworks also supplied the Walbro 460 pump. So Raceworks, they are the place to go when you want to get fuel system, any of that fuel line stuff. Man, we use them for everything. They're awesome. So yeah, we're going to put some Teflon tape on that, mount that in there. This can kind of orientate any way you can make it. So we'll probably orientate it so the gauge is sort of upwards. And then we've got to have that other fitting in there as well, so we can have our vacuum line, vacuum/boost line. Let's grab some tape. So our main problem is that our vacuum port runs off there and our gauge runs off there, and we're kind of limited with our space. I'm hoping this gauge will sit over the fuel line that's next to it, and this will have enough clearance to the blower. Hopes and dreams at the moment. All right, let's just carefully screw the gauge in by hand without applying any real pressure. Now, this is the important part. Never really exert any pressure on the gauge. Get your spanner on there and tighten it up with a spanner. Never twist the gauge because you'll snap it. It's not a good experience. Okay. All right, so that was a 3.5 bar reg. So as you can see, they kind of look the same on the end. We'll lube up these O-rings here, squeeze her in, and hopefully she'll work. Hopefully it fits. Yeah. Okay. Right. Here's the test. get that in there. Unless... So we've hit a little stumbling block. While this unit does actually in fact fit where I need it to fit, which is amazing, I've got to say. All right, so you can get it in there. Okay, now that's in place. We can't do up the circlip. There's just no way that will happen. So we're going to have to pull this fuel line off the car. And yes, that won't make it any easier to do because it's just this part of the body of the reg is too close to here, so you can't get a tool in there. We're going to have to actually modify part of this external housing, because even if by miracle we could get this in, once that's in, it ain't ever coming out. So we're going to have to cut away part of the top of the housing here, which is fine. It doesn't rely on that part, just so we can get circlip pliers from the back side here to do the circlip. And it's not only to get it on, it's to get it off. So, yeah, it's not going to be fun. So I think, yeah, cutting the top edge on this might be the go. I'm not a fan. We're going to have to dry that out because otherwise I'll set fire to it. Also not a fan. But yeah. Yay. So yeah, there's no way that's going in. Like, it's possible you could probably squeeze one end in and chase it around with a screwdriver, which, yeah, maybe it'll work, but if it did, it would never come out again. So I think what we need to do is do what we're talking about. Slice the top off here, so that way we can come in from the back side, like so. Squeeze it together. If we do that, then we can get it in, and more importantly, get it out again if we have to in the future. Okay, let's see how this goes. I've put the old reg in there, so that'll fill the hole. It's disposable. We got a million of the things. Let's see if this works. Okay, it's in. We got there in the end. All right, let's mount it back onto the car. Down there for the moment. So we've got it all done. We've got our fuel pump in, we've got a regulator in, fuel lines are back on, everything's done up, we've got fuel back in it. We haven't hit the key yet, so let's do that. Primer up. I've put the fuel pump fuse relay back in. Hear it buzz away there for a little bit. It does say in the instructions it will squeak a little bit. the first time because, you know, it's got air and stuff in it. All right, we see some fuel pressure there. I'll turn it off, hit the key again. All right, let's put it in park. All right, see if she starts. It works. So now that's done, I guess the next move is to put water to air intercooler on it. We want to go with the underblower intercooler for, you know, a bit of stealth at the moment. We'll do intercooler, we've got our pump and we've got a reg, we'll do diff gears, and that will allow us to put the bonnet on there. It'll be a solid 12-second sleeper, which is kind of where I want to go with the car right now, you know. Yes, we can go more wild with thicker intercoolers and bonnet bulges and all that sort of stuff, and maybe we will do that down the track. I don't know, we'll work that out. But right now, I just want to make it a solid 12-second sleeper, have some fun with it like that, and then we'll go stroker, turbo, whatever, down the track, you know. Who knows? Who knows where this will end up, but right now we're just looking for something that's a little bit stealthy, a little bit of fun, and solidly in the 12s. And man, that's a seriously quick car. So you'll see all that on future episodes of Carnage.